Hi there, and a great Friday afternoon to you. I'm Tonya Rivens, and thanks for watching Canceling COVID. It's an opportunity for you to join us, the real place for real people to have real talk and find real solutions. And it's just been so, I guess, enlightening to have these conversations. We've been doing this since January, so salute to Amelia Henderson, the producer, and to you for continuing to support us as we continue to work together. We are working together. Boy, are we bringing people together. And that's all thanks to you as well to protect ourselves, our families, our way of life during a global pandemic. That's right. Do not lose sight of the pandemic is still happening, and we still have to be diligent and pay attention. For that reason, also on that note, let me also say thank you to our sponsors, Mecklenburg County Public Health, metcountync.gov, metcountync.gov, and for Groundwater Solutions for their support. Dr. Tracia Black will be up shortly. But I mentioned Mecklenburg County Public Health. They are sponsoring and they are available to answer your questions. And this is important information, folks. mecnc.gov, mecnc.gov, or 980-314-4000, 980-314-4000. That's 9400. I thought I was getting slick there. 980-314-9400, 980-314-9400. I should have that memorized by now. I'm getting close. I also want to say hats off to Dr. Raynard Washington. You may have missed the news. He's been a frequent visitor here, and that just, again, speaks to the commitment from Mecklenburg County Public Health. But he is going to be the new director starting in January 2022. He's replacing Gibby Harris, who's retiring. And so salute to Dr. Washington. And you can see how personable he is. Dr. Harris has been very supportive as well. I don't want to take away from that, but just good stuff all the way around. And I see nothing but good things continuing to develop with Mecklenburg County Public Health. Now, there is a major disagreement. Pfizer says that it's time for a COVID-19 booster shot. Already? A booster shot? Well, the FDA and the CDC, they're saying not so fast. It's not quite time yet. And if you kind of think about it in perspective, it could be quite concerning, especially to people who haven't gotten the first shot yet. So the CDC, they're saying, along with the FDA, there's a joint statement that they released that says boosters are not needed right now, even though Pfizer says is seeing waning immunity from the vaccine and is developing a booster dose. So let them go ahead and develop. But the FDA and CDC says just hold off. And I'd love to know what you think. To hear that already, that different official opinion on COVID-19 booster shots, is that concerning to you? Pfizer saying we need it. The FDA and CDC says, no, we don't need it just yet. So I'd just love to hear your thoughts. That's something really cool to chat about, folks. Now, this should get you moving and making comments. So hop in on our chat and share your thoughts. The different official opinions on the COVID-19 booster shot, rather, is that concerning to you? And keep in mind, this is all that's being developed, being put into place. It's kind of tough because we've never been here before. So obviously working through these things, I wouldn't be shocked, but does it bother you? Because we've had to kind of, work through this. It's been a work in progress. Everything has kind of been a work in progress. So with that said, I want to bring on our first guest. And she is never lacking a words or opinion or even facts. I'm talking about Dr. Tracia Black of Groundwater Solutions. I want to bring her on and just kind of comment on that. First of all, good afternoon, my dear sister. So good to see you.
Hi, good to see you as well. Thank you for having me today.
Oh gosh, glad to see you. Switched up a little bit. Usually it's on Wednesdays. We've got you on Friday, so I had to wait just a little bit longer, but still
Okay.
glad to have you and see you. So let's start with the first question. This whole issue of a difference of opinion, again, Dr. Black from Groundwater Solutions. Kind of this question of the day. Pfizer claims immunity is waning and is pushing for a COVID-19 booster shot. The CDC and FDA, they're saying, no, it's too soon. Does this difference in opinion really concern you, and are you surprised?
I'm not surprised. And initially, when the vaccine when it was in development, most of the manufacturers stated that they believed that there would need to be a booster in 6 to 10 months.
Okay.
6 to 12 months, I'm sorry. So we knew that going in. I think they've been very vocal about it. And I think we should trust the manufacturers because they make it. They're the ones doing the research on the efficacy and the strength and the longitude of their vaccine. So I believe that if they say that they're seeing in their research that that's what's happening, we we knew that there would probably be the need for boosters. I think we should believe them and take the necessary steps.
Okay, so Dr. Black, we're gonna have to break this down, okay? Because a lot of people think, boosters are a sign that vaccinations don't work. And my first thought is, my goodness, we can't even get the people that got the first shot. And now you're talking
Mhm.
about another shot. And they're sitting there going, uh-huh, I told you. They just want to keep shooting us up with whatever. So kind of, what does a booster shot do?
A booster it's almost like, things that we have in life that expire. It could be our milk, it could be, our car registration. Things expire. There's a period of time that things are effective and they then expire. It's the same thing with vaccinations. Now there are very few vaccinations that are lifelong, but
Okay.
most of them, especially during your early childhood, you got boosters. You got two or three of them until you have lifelong effectiveness. But so that's not unusual, and it's with other vaccines. So I think it's just everything expires after a certain period of time, typically, and it's not something for us to be alarmed about.
But it is already a challenge trying to get people to get the first step. And now you're coming back saying, oh, you got to go back again. And it
Mhm.
really doesn't help the cause. So I see, from the CDC and the FDA, from their viewpoint, it's like, oh my gosh,
Well,
we're
I
talking.
think the folks who are looking for a problem are going to find a problem.
Okay.
And if you support the vaccine, then understand that this is a normal part of the vaccination process. And it's a part that the manufacturers acknowledge going into it. So
Okay.
again, if you have chosen, if we as a society say vaccines are important, if we believe that the COVID vaccine is the answer for us, then we need to be prepared to take those boosters. And we don't know what that looks like. It could be every 6 months. It could be once a year. It could be a new booster every time a new variant is discovered. The
Okay.
Pfizer vaccine, Pfizer manufacturers have produced the Delta Plus booster shot so that they can make sure that their vaccine has the effectiveness to protect against the Delta variant as well. But they've added other pieces that will potentially help against other variants. So we don't know. COVID is a new experience for all of
Right.
us. And so we
Uh-huh.
just have to, keep looking at the science and the manufacturers, what they're daily doing research. And so we just have to trust the process if that's our
Okay.
solution.
Good stuff. So I see Brandon Chuck Brown has hopped on. Hey, Brandon, good afternoon. And he's tagging Judith Elise Brown, who is his wife. So maybe they've had this conversation about boosters. But Brandon, invite others to join us, share, and comment on our question of the day, which is, does this difference in opinions, does it really concern you? Jump in the chat and share your thoughts. So, Dr. Black, how long is the window for vaccine-induced immunity?
I think it just depends on the vaccination.
Okay.
Again, some of them have to be taken every few years. Some of them have to be taken every decade. Some of them, again, as a child, there are series that for infants and toddlers, there are
Right.
series of vaccines that they've had multiple of the same vaccine over the course of those first few years that will provide potentially lifelong immunity. But it just depends on the vaccine. The folks who make the vaccine, just like any product, give us the description of how it should be used, the description of how long it will last us. And so, according to the Pfizer, they're saying that their vaccine immunity it will wane, which we really, most of us believed that would happen. They reported it. So I think now we're going to be learning, since the
Uh-huh.
COVID vaccine is new, we'll be developing over the next few years, and we'll understand more and more what the longevity of the immunity is for that particular vaccine.
And you know what? A lot of people are always driven by money, but they could have just kept quiet and silent and not even brought this issue up, knowing the resistance that was out there. So I do at least applaud them for being somewhat transparent and sharing
Mm-hmm.
that. And you reminded us that they even
Right.
said this up front. So it's not something they just pulled like a rabbit out of the hat. So I appreciate that. Brandon
Exactly.
says
And
that.
I think that, we'll learn from Moderna
Uh,
how long their vaccine is going to last. We'll learn from Johnson and Johnson. So we don't know. And I think just like during the pandemic, the early and rough parts of the pandemic, not that we're through with the rough parts, but we
right.
had to look, we had to read, we had to study, we had to research to figure out how do we help, how do we be have protections during COVID-19, and we are still learning. So for folks who thinks that it's all we've learned, all that we're going to learn, we're not there yet. It's going to be a continuous learning process. It's going to be a continuous improvement process, like everything else in life.
Well, what is the one way to determine the immunity level is to watch for breakthrough infections in older adults who have already been vaccinated. That's just one way. Are there any other warning signs that boosters are needed?
No, I don't think so, but I do know that there have been some hospitalizations of older adults, and I think this is what they mean when they say that. There have been some hospitalizations of folks who were immunized earlier in the year who are showing up at hospitals with COVID-19. So that when they say that, and they are seniors, we're not necessarily seeing that in younger adults or young teens yet, but we are seeing it with seniors who are having being infected with COVID-19. But again, I've been saying this for months that if you are immunized, you still need to be tested for COVID
Right.
because you can spread it. You personally may not be impacted. You may be protected with the vaccination from really serious illnesses or death, but you can spread it to seniors, you can spread it to children and other people in your community. So we still have to not allow the spread to become as rampant as it was in 2020.
Yeah, I know, we've gotten so far away, a lot of us, and
Mhm,
I'm not going to include myself because I'm still practicing the precautions,
mhm.
that we just act like it's over. And that's just kind of disheartening because we can't let our guard down just
Okay.
yet. I see Brandon, Chuck Brown says his organization, Judith Elise Brown, she is having a vaccine event in Greer Heights on Saturday, July
Mhm.
24th. And they just had a conversation about this about 30 minutes ago. So thank you, Brandon, for sharing that. I know First Care Medical Clinic is doing a vaccination clinic tomorrow as well on Nations Ford. Good afternoon to Erica Simonton Beatty. Thank you for hopping on. Dr. Black, let's talk about what are the odds that we'll get a variant tailored annual booster similar to the annual flu shot. Do you see that happening?
I do. I believe that that's what's going to happen. Eventually, we'll be taking annual COVID vaccines and offering those to the public. I think that's going to be a normal part of our lives, just like influenza, just like
Yeah.
typhoid flu, just the many different severe diseases that we have battled over these hundreds of years, and we now have vaccinations to protect us against that. And so I think the same thing is going to happen for COVID-19, that it's going to be a part of our regular medical and healthcare regimen. And we should just start preparing for that now.
Especially if you want to live and you
Mhm.
want to adapt to the new normal. And that's what you
Yeah.
have to keep saying. We just can't go back to where we
Right.
were.
We have evolved, and
Yeah,
we
yeah.
can't be like the nation of Israel and saying, "Oh, we just want to go back to Egypt." We got to just keep moving forward.
Yeah.
Life is about learning from where we've been and
Uh-huh.
allowing us ourselves to grow and change, allowing the world to grow and change. And this is just one of those things that we've got to just adapt.
Yeah, those are great, great words of wisdom shared right there. So let's talk about when they finally get the booster. Will it have to match your original vaccine? Because we got Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson and Johnson. So once it's time for the booster, will it have to match the original?
Well, no, what they're learning is that you don't necessarily have to stick with the same brand of vaccination that you
Okay.
started with. Even if you took, say, you're taking a two-dose vaccination and you
Uh-huh.
take the Moderna initially, that your second dose can actually be the Pfizer. And in some studies, we're showing that you have improved immunity if you mix and match the brands of the vaccination that you're taking. So I think, there'll be different brand names for boosters, and you decide which one you want to take, and it'll be available to you.
Wow. Well, any final thoughts on this? You just kind of cleared it up as always. They
Yeah, I
told
think
y'all when they started. It was
Yeah, I think just keep being safe. I'm actually at Winston-Salem State today. My daughter,
Woo!
who's coming into her freshman year in August.
Wow.
I'm so excited for her. We're here for a new
Congratulations.
student event today, and I had to come in a corner to try to find a quiet place. But there are many, 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 I'd say the majority of students and parents and staff here are unmasked. There is no social distancing. distancing. And so I get in environments like this and I am still concerned. And I just want to say, and I want to stress again and again and again, that the pandemic is still happening. We are a lot better protected than we were before, but we still need to keep practicing those safety strategies that we learned were so essential in 2020, whether vaccinated or not. Please continue to practice the safety measures because so we all be safe.
Absolutely. And congratulations, go Rams. My sister is an
Yay.
alumni there. And so I spent a lot of time on that campus as well. Where are you guys out today? Where's Groundwater Solutions out in the community?
So we are at the Mexican consulate in Raleigh today,
Okay.
and we are at a movie set in Charlotte, North Carolina today,
Nice.
providing testing and vaccinations. And we're always, Tonya, you texted earlier today to see where we were. We're always in our office Monday through Friday, and so if you can't find us out in the community, we're right there on Reagan Drive off of Sugar Creek North in North Carolina.
Well, thank you so much. And yes, and you responded promptly. See, people are always asking and reaching out to me, and I get excited because that means that's just one more person that
Yeah.
gets the vaccine, and they also will get a gift card and they get entered for a chance to win $1 million,
Yeah.
as well as a chance to win, if they're a student, a scholarship for 125,000. So yeah,
Yeah.
thank you for responding. I know you got to get back to time with your daughter. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Thank
Enjoy
you.
your weekend, and I'll talk to you again probably on Wednesday, Dr. Black, but I appreciate you. All right, great, great stuff. Always great conversation. You can feel the passion and the love and the energy. That's what you need to hear from. I know it's a difficult decision, but we bring you facts. And of course, if you have questions, you can reach out to Groundwater Solutions as well. They're right there on the Reagan Drive, and we'll get their information back up. But Mecklenburg County Public Health, metcountync.gov, rather. Metcountync.gov is another option for you. Meantime, the pandemic has taken many of us back to our roots, and we know that. Farms and gardens, I mean, people farming and gardening at home, those numbers have just started to boom. And for some, it's a necessity as they embark on a healthier lifestyle. And we like to mix it up here and just have conversations that you may not find anywhere else. So for others, it's a way to social distance and kind of bond with their family. We saw a lot of that happening as well. Whatever the case, I'm so excited to bring in my second guest. I rely on them for a lot of things because I tell people I'm just a country girl anyway. You would never know by the environment that we're in now, especially in the Cornelius Lake Norman area, because everything's just booming. But I still consider myself country and bring in myself. You don't have to be country to farm, but the best part about it is you can reap the benefits of just farming and knowing how to appreciate the environment that we have. So my second guest is Miss Sandy Duncan. She's the managing editor of the Farmer's Almanac, and I'm just thrilled to have you on because I can find using that almanac for just about everything. So good afternoon, and thanks for joining us.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me on, Tonya.
Absolutely. So, Miss Duncan, let's get started. For so many of us in the Carolinas, we grew up with a Farmer's Almanac at our arm's reach and really kind of swear by them, and they were pretty accurate. So, what makes the Farmer's Almanac a go-to resource for generations of farmers?
Well, if you think about it, it dates back to 1818. So it's just been a reliable source, as you mentioned, of not only weather information, but we have tips about when to garden, how to weed. And if you look back at the editions, as you kind of alluded to, you don't have to be a farmer to read the Farmer's Almanac, and you don't have to be a farmer to grow some vegetables out back. So really, the Almanac has evolved, just as the public has evolved, and it's just become a very reliable source for natural ways to get back in tune with nature, get back in tune with the earth, and how to pretty much grow just about anything if you'd like. But as you mentioned, we also have all kinds of great tips and information on how to live sustainably.
And along those lines, a lot of people have just gotten to home gardens. But COVID-19 created a lot of other reasons why people should get involved to growing and producing their own food. What are some of the reasons that you've heard as a result of COVID-19 why people said, I'll just go ahead and do a home garden?
Sure. Well, I think, first and foremost, last year, what else were you going to do? You were hanging
Yeah.
around the house so much. So why not put something productive in? And it's a fun thing to try by yourself, or if you have children or if you have grandchildren, it's something they could see. And I think, as many of us have gotten away from the land, some people don't even remember where vegetables come from or how they're grown.
Right.
It's kind of a science experiment. So it's been really fun. So I think part of it is people were home. People wanted to do something constructive. But I think, the past several years, we hear more and more about, you know, chicken being infected with E. coli or something. And just, you want to have a little more control over what you grow. We've seen people, a growth in home gardens, but also growth in local farms or gardens or local farmers markets too. You kind of want to know where your food came from, and what better way to know is if you grow it yourself.
So is it tough to get a green thumb? My mother-in-law, she just grew some peppers for the first time and she was all excited and showing pictures. And how tough is it to just attain a green thumb?
I always say, like, what shade of green are you talking about?
Okay.
Green or, but I think first and foremost, what you have to remember is that you're really not in control. You
Yeah.
can read everything you want. You can consult the Farmer's Almanac. You can go to farmersalmanac.com. We have all kinds of tips. But really the weather, and there's so many factors that come into play. But I think everybody could have a little bit of shade of green in it. And I think, the biggest thing is don't give up. If it doesn't work this year, try something a little different or grow something different next year. So, and you could do it inside and outside if you have a big plot or a small plot. And I think everybody could grow something, even if it's just
Yeah.
a house plant or a cactus. You might want to try that.
Right, right. I think one of the easiest things to grow are tomatoes, but that's just me because
And it's
they just
different for
kind of take
everybody. It's different for everybody. You tomatoes, or 1 year tomatoes, the next year's peppers.
right.
You just never know.
Well, I like that. It depends on what color or what shade of green. But
Exactly.
you mentioned the plots, either small or large. How do you select a plot for your garden?
Sure. Well, we have some great tips on farmersalmanac.com. And one of the things you have to remember is most vegetables need about 8 hours of sun. So you really have to pick an area where you get a lot of sun. You don't want to be too close to any trees, because sometimes if there's a lot of root systems, it'll take away the nutrients in the soil. You
Mhm.
also want to make it kind of close to where you are. Like, suppose it's right outside the kitchen or right outside a deck area, so that you can keep an eye on it and you can see all those weeds going on. You can also water it a little easier. That's a big thing to consider. How far away is it from some type of water source? And if you don't have a plot, you can also, pick out some containers and grow something on your deck or your balcony, or even on your windowsill.
So you kind of led to the next question too. That would be some suggestions for people maybe that have a limited amount of space.
Sure. We have a great story about how you can reuse things like a colander or an old tea kettle, or just, any type of pot or pan. You can grow some vegetables, or even some herbs are great things to grow in container gardening. In fact, basil, lettuce, tomatoes, and peas are top suggested things to grow in containers. So like I said, if you live in the city or the suburbs and you don't have a big piece of property, try growing in a little container, reusing something, and seeing how it goes.
So what are some of the popular things that are planting right now? You just mentioned the basil, the lettuce, tomatoes, and peas. Are those the most popular?
Sure. Well, right now, we're in the middle of the growing season, especially down where you guys are. It's a little bit warmer, but there are still things you can start to grow right now, because they pretty much germinate quickly and then they will grow fast. So you could try, if you'd like to, if you haven't had, try some zucchini, bush beans, okra, cucumbers, green onions, and snow peas. And then as the summer starts to cool down a little, there's a whole list of fall crops you can try, like lettuce and kale. Right now it's a little warm for those type of cold tolerant vegetables, but there are some things you can definitely try to grow right now.
Look at all this knowledge and information and such wisdom for somebody that's looking to start planting their garden or even find out what they need to know. So where should a beginner start if they're trying to start doing their home garden?
Well, my favorite place is farmersalmanac.com, or the actual
That's
Farmer's Almanac. But yeah, just talk to some people in the neighborhood too, maybe, or go to your local farm stand, or go to your local greenhouse. Check the Farmer's Almanac, because I mentioned we have a lot of tips and advice, whether you want a big garden, a small garden, the balcony garden. We also have a very popular, and I meant to mention this before, is that we have this thing called the gardening by the moon, which the ancestors swore that if you really followed what phase the moon is in, where the moon is in the zodiac signs, that you'll have the best results possible. And while there's it's a little pseudoscience, but it is science. And we have it on our website, and people that follow it say they get the best results possible. So we also have some suggestions based on planting by the moon, if you want to check it out at farmersalmanac.com.
And all of that information right there in your Farmer's Almanac. What are some of the biggest mistakes you see gardeners making?
Planning too big. Don't start out too big. It's really start a little bit small, because it's a lot of work too. Let's face it.
Yeah.
Or you want to go on vacation and somebody has to water it. So start small, and don't blame yourself, because as we mentioned, one year you could have a bumper crop, everything just wonderful. The next year you plant those tomato seeds or tomato plants, and they're just they're rotten or something happens to them. And remember, it's all about the weather. The weather is so important with gardening, because if it's too hot, or if it's too cold, or if it's too wet, and not only for the vegetable plants themselves, but it brings in different types of pests, and infections with caterpillars or beetles or whatever. So, just don't give up. And, a really good piece of advice is try a variety of things. Don't make it too big, but try a variety of things, so that, peppers are my forte, or, that basil really worked well. I'm going to try that again. And next year, why not try okra? Try a different variety of things, and you might be surprised how much you get, and you might have to share some with the neighbor as well.
Well, my neighbors, they have a nice garden, and they
Ooh.
are very generous
Nice.
in the back of their home. And I know a lot more people got involved with gardening and farm, home gardens, but
Yeah.
they've had theirs for quite some time. But now the big news is how people can get a Farmer's Almanac. Again, something I usually swear by, and especially not just for gardening, but mostly for weather, especially someone like me. When you do some outdoor events, it's just great to have an idea. Nothing's 100%, but it certainly is a good guideline, and it's usually pretty accurate.
It is. Yes, if you go to farmersalmanac.com, you can see, you can order a copy. Actually, it's very exciting. You contacted us. In about a month from now, we're actually releasing the 2022 edition, which
Oh, wow.
then will also talk about the winter weather. So you can pre-order those copies right now. And it's at farmersalmanac.com. But as you said, like, we have recipes, we have natural hints, we have life hacks, and we do have that all important forecast, not only for the winter, but next summer as well.
Yeah, great stuff. Sandy, you're great to talk to. A great interview. You made this really fun. Both of you guys, you and Dr. Black, for a Friday. So I really appreciate your time. Is there anything else you would like to add?
Nope, thanks a lot. And I just hope that all your followers continue to grow some things in the vegetable garden.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you taking the time to talk with us. So, guys, support Farmer's Almanac. You can go to farmersalmanac.com. I can tell you it's very resourceful, if nothing else. And a lot of people have gotten into home gardens. So this is a great guideline for you. I just want to mention this. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention on Friday, they updated their COVID-19 school guidance to emphasize in-person schooling. That's the priority in the fall. So all the other stuff, regardless of whether there are mitigation or any measures that can be implemented, the sole focus is get these kids back into school in person. So look for that. Look for schools to really push for that, and try and do your part to kind of help move this along. The main thing is we want to continue to enjoy the freedoms that we've been able to enjoy up until now, because we weren't here a year ago. And as I get ready to wrap things up, I just want to say thank you guys for everything. I had a really tough week. One of my favorites, my aunt, transitioned the day after the 4th of July. She transitioned in her sleep. Her name's Linda Costello Davison. I kind of mentioned that I lost a close relative, and we're just appreciative. I have a huge family. I'll post more on my Facebook page, but truly loved by everyone. Like a second mother to me, very close with her and her children, her husband, one of my father figures. And so, we've made the adjustment. We're at peace. She went peacefully, and just sharing that with you. Of course, I'll see you on Sunday morning, Sounds of Inspiration. That kicks off at 7 a.m., 7 till 9. Hopefully you can hop on there. And we've got Praise in the Park happening September 18th. It's been 15 years since I hosted the very first one. We're taking it back to where it all started, Smithville Park. That's right, exit 28 in Smithville. And we're excited. The town's already partnered with us for this. And that just speaks to how more and more in the community, people want to come together and do some positive, inspirational things. It's free, folks. So just make plans to join us September 18th, 5 p.m., Smithville Park. As always, less challenges make you better, not bitter. I'm Tonya Rivens. Thank you again to our sponsors, Mecklenburg County Public Health, mecnc.gov. I'm not sure. I guess my computer's telling me it's time to get off. mecnc.gov for public health if you have any questions. Also, groundwater solutions, thank you as well. We're going to keep working at this, folks, because together we can cancel COVID. Have a great weekend, everyone, and make sure you stay safe as you get out and about. Thank you.